Formula 1 is about to start again, and an incredible season is predicted. Whilst most people will focus on the title fight between Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren and Red Bull, many fans will also keep a close eye on the many rookies in 2025. How are these rookies going to do, and are they going to do better than Kimi Raikkonen, Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton in their debut year? In this brand new Racing News 365 video, we look back in F1 history to find the best ever rookie seasons to answer the question, who were the best rookies ever in Formula 1? Oliver Bearman, Liam Lawson, Isaac Hadjar, Jack Doohan, Gabriel Bortoleto and Kimi Antonelli. Let me introduce to you the rookies of 2025. Each and every one of them will try to become the future F1 World Champion. For some, that is a realistic target, whilst for others, it's a tall order. It just depends on how you want to look at it. Whilst Kimi Antonelli and Liam Lawson are allowed to prove themselves at top teams, 2024 F2 champion Gabriel Bortoleto is with last year's worst team, Stake F1. And Jack Doohan is already under extreme pressure at Alpine before the season has even started. But who will they try to emulate? And who are the most successful rookies in the history of F1? We'll go through it for you. Kimi Raikkonen made his Formula 1 debut with Sauber in 2001, when he'd only driven 23 races in Formula Renault. Many critics thought he was far too inexperienced for the pinnacle of motorsport, but the Finn showed in his very first race that he deserved his place on the grid. During the Australian Grand Prix, he crossed the line in 6th place and immediately scored points. And that was just the beginning. Raikkonen scored points 3 more times that season, with a few great P4 finishes in Austria and Canada. And that's in a Sauber that was not exactly the fastest or most reliable car on the grid. At the end of the season, Raikkonen was 10th in the championship with 9 points, only 3 less than his more experienced teammate Nick Heidfeld. But more importantly, he had impressed enough to earn a coveted seat at McLaren in 2002. And the rest is history. In 2007, he became world champion with Ferrari. Jenson Button made the jump from Formula 3 to Williams in 2000, but knew from day one that his contract would only be for 1 season. Teammate Ralf Schumacher had a long-term deal, and Juan Pablo Montoya was already prepared to step in 2001. With Button knowing he only had 1 year, it was down to him to make sure that nobody got in his way. And he made sure of that. In his second race, the Brazilian Grand Prix, he fought his way to the front and took 6th place. In Hockenheim, it went even better. P4 at the end of the race, his best result of the season. And then there was that brilliant qualifying lap at Spa, where he qualified 3rd. That made such an impression that BMW's motorsport boss, Gerhard Berger, wondered aloud why Williams let him go at all. Button ended the season 8th in the championship, just 12 points behind Schumacher in P5. But despite his impressive performances, he had to make way and left for Benetton for 2001. The start of a long and successful F1 career, which of course saw him become world champion with Braun GP in 2009. A 9th place in the championship during your debut season may not sound impressive, but Ayrton Senna's performance with Toleman, a team seen by many as back of the grid material, proves otherwise in his debut year of 1984. To put it into perspective, the Brazilian finished that year on equal points with Nigel Mansell, who drove a much more competitive Lotus. And that while Senna failed to finish 8 of the 14 races, 6 of which were due to mechanical trouble. Nevertheless, he took 3 podiums, culminating in his legendary rain race in Monaco. From P13, he fought his way to the front and drove almost 4 seconds per lap faster than leader Alain Prost. But just before he could attack for the lead, the race was stopped. A taste of the magic to come, and it was also there that Senna was slowly renamed the best wet weather driver of his time. Of course, Senna went on to claim 3 World Drivers' titles before his tragic death. Sir Jackie Stewart also showed in 1965 that he was not much inferior to his competitors in his first year. He took his first win after 8 Grand Prix and scored a total of 5 podium finishes. He finished third in the championship behind champion Jim Clark and his championship teammate Graham Hill. In the years that followed, Stewart would develop into a 3-time world champion. Amongst the most successful drivers in Formula 1 history is of course Michael Schumacher, and he is not missing from this list of best rookies. Schumacher made his F1 debut in 1991 with Jordan as a replacement for Bertrand Gachot, and immediately surprised everyone. During his first race weekend at Spa, he qualified 7th, but a technical problem meant that his race was over after just one lap. Jordan wanted to keep him, but Schumacher made the switch to Benetton. His short performance in 1991 was impressive, but in 1992, he really showed what he had to offer. In his first full season with Benetton, he finished third in the championship behind dominant Williams drivers Nigel Mansell and Riccardo Patrese, but ahead of Ayrton Senna. That year, he was on the podium no less than 8 times, the first of which was claimed in the second round of the season in Mexico. But the absolute highlight came in Belgium, where he won his very first Grand Prix a year after his debut. The rise of a legend had begun, and now years later we speak of him as a 7-time world champion. When it comes to rookie seasons, perhaps the most famous name is Lewis Hamilton, who is in the history books as the most successful Formula 1 debutant and, statistically, the greatest F1 driver of all time. The year is 2007, and McLaren has a new talent in its ranks, Lewis Hamilton, who would go on to set the pinnacle of motorsport on fire. He became the teammate of 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso, and beforehand, all eyes were on the Spaniard's pursuit of a 3rd consecutive F1 driver's title. Instead of succumbing to the pressure, the Briton did the opposite. In his very first Grand Prix, he was on the podium, and he continued to do so in the 8 races that followed. In doing so, he set the record for most consecutive top 3 finishes in a debut season. In total, Hamilton was on the podium 12 times that year, including 4 times on the top step. His first victory came in his 6th race, with a dominant victory in Canada. The fairy tale could have been even better, because as a rookie, he was still in the race for the championship in the season finale. He ended up 1 point short. A problem with his gearbox in the final race gave Kimi Raikkonen the chance to just pass him in the final standings. And let's not forget the damp Chinese Grand Prix, where Hamilton was sitting on roses for his first title, but he ended up in the gravel when entering the pit lane and got stuck. So he finished behind the Flying Finn at the end of the year, but ahead of his teammate Alonso. But Hamilton didn't have to wait long for revenge. A year later, he took his first world championship in Brazil. The Briton now has 7 titles, and he will do everything in his power to make it an 8th at his new employer, Ferrari. Of course, a list of best rookies is not complete without including Max Verstappen. August the 12th, 2014 will be booked as the day it was announced that Max would immediately become part of the Red Bull Junior team. A little over a month later, and he made his F1 debut as a 16-year-old in the first free practice session of the Japanese Grand Prix. On March the 15th, 2015, he made his competitive debut with Toro Rosso in the Australian Grand Prix at just 17 years old. He scored his first F1 points in the second race of the season, making him the youngest driver to score points in F1 history. That year, he finished the season at 12th in the championship, but a year later, in 2016, he was promoted to Red Bull after just 4 races. And what happened on his debut for the team in Spain? Well, I probably don't have to explain that to you anymore. What do all these rookies have in common? They have all proven that you don't always need experience to make a huge impact in Formula 1. They brought exciting, legendary feats, proved that talent can lead the way, and set the stage for careers that would change the sport forever. And so we see again, Formula 1 is the place where even the youngest talents and most inexperienced drivers can make their mark. Who knows which rookie will become the next big name in the history of the sport? That's the beauty of F1. The next talent could just be around the corner. Let us know in the comments if you think any of this season's rookies have what it takes to match the drivers mentioned in this video, and which rookie do you believe will come out on top in 2025. Thanks for watching, and be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you later.